Every notification feels like a little present, doesn't it? That satisfying ding, a little burst of dopamine, and a smile spreads across your face. It's a tiny digital reward, perfectly packaged. But here's the twist, the subtle sleight of hand. While you're chasing that next buzz, that fleeting hit of validation, your brain is quietly being remodeled. Think of it like a house you own, but one where the contractors have started renovating without your explicit permission, changing the layout and even the foundations. Stick around, because in the next few minutes, we're going to crack open your skull metaphorically, of course, and take a good, hard look at the wiring. We'll delve into why your focus feels like a sieve, why you can't remember what you had for breakfast, let alone what happened last Tuesday, and why that vague, anxious itch suddenly hits you when the Wi-Fi drops. It's not just getting old or being stressed. There's a deeper, more profound shift happening. The best part? We won't just leave you with the problem. We'll finish with a practical, actionable reset plan you can start tonight to take back control of your amazing brain. Picture this, and be honest with yourself. You sit down, just for a second, to check one message. Maybe it's a quick reply to a friend or an email you've been expecting. Next thing you know, 45 minutes have vanished into the digital ether, and you're mesmerized by a video of a raccoon learning to skateboard or a meticulously crafted latte art tutorial. You have absolutely no idea how you got there or why you're still watching. That slippery slope, that effortless slide from intention to distraction, isn't a sign of bad self-discipline on your part. It's far more insidious. It's engineered brain hijacking, a sophisticated system designed to keep you scrolling, tapping, and consuming. Every swipe, every refresh, every new piece of content triggers a squirt of dopamine so precise and potent that neuroscientists often compare it to the allure of a slot machine. The platforms aren't just showing you content. They're playing a game with your brain's reward system, and they're very, very good at it. Keep watching, because by the end of this, you'll not only know exactly how this machine works, but crucially, how to tilt the odds back in your favor. We're going to arm you with the knowledge and tools to reclaim your attention, your memory, and your peace of mind. Let's start with attention, shall we? It's that fragile yet incredibly powerful superpower you absolutely need for pretty much everything important in your life. We're talking about the focus required for deep work, for studying for that crucial exam, or even just for genuinely listening to your mom on the phone without your mind wandering. Social media, in its relentless pursuit of your eyeballs, doesn't just chip away at it. It shreds it into confetti, scattering your cognitive resources in 1,000 directions. Your prefrontal cortex, often called your brain's CEO, the command center for executive functions like planning, decision-making, and sustained focus, gets absolutely bombarded. It's a relentless onslaught of rapid-fire novelty, a cat meme, immediately followed by breaking news, then a selfie from a distant acquaintance, an ad for something you vaguely looked at once, and then repeat, repeat, repeat. This constant, fragmented input forces your brain into a state of perpetual task switching. Every jump from one piece of content to another leaves what psychologists call attention residue. It's like a tiny cognitive hangover, where parts of your brain are still lingering on the previous task, making it harder to fully engage with the new one. Over time, this constant context switching degrades your ability to sustain focus on any single item. And it's not just a feeling, it's measurable. MRI studies from University College London have shown that heavy scrollers, those who spend significant time immersed in these digital streams, actually exhibit reduced gray matter density in the anterior cingulate cortex, ACC. Now, why is that important? The ACC is a crucial region involved in attention regulation, decision-making, and keeping you on task. Less tissue there literally translates to a diminished capacity to ignore distractions, a poorer ability to sustain focus, and an increased likelihood of falling down those infamous digital rabbit holes. Your brain is adapting to this environment, but not in a way that serves your long-term cognitive health. The platforms, of course, know this. Their algorithms aren't just random. They're meticulously designed. They deliberately vary the rewards, a like here, a comment there, a share on another post, so you can never quite predict when the next high arrives. This unpredictability, this variable ratio reinforcement, is the same potent psychological mechanic that casinos use to keep gamblers hooked to slot machines. Your brain, desperate for that next hit of validation, that next little dopamine squirt, stays glued to the screen, endlessly scrolling, always chasing the elusive next reward. Think about it. Have you ever tried to dive into a complex book after an hour-long TikTok binge? The pages feel like bricks, don't they? Your mind races, you reread sentences, and the narrative just won't stick. That's not a personal failing. That's neurological whiplash. The neural pathways and networks that once fired efficiently for 15-minute articles, for deep reading, or for sustained creative work, now stall and sputter after 30 seconds of focused effort. They've been retrained to expect constant novelty and instant gratification. This constant bombardment and the resulting fragmented attention have profound implications beyond just struggling with a book. It impacts your ability to learn effectively, to solve complex problems at work, to engage in meaningful conversations, and even to truly appreciate the world around you. Your brain, optimized for quick hits and shallow processing, struggles with the depth and sustained engagement that real-world achievement and connection demand. The good news, and this is crucial, is that neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life, runs both ways. Your brain can be rewired for distraction, but it can also be rewired for focus, and we're absolutely going to exploit that later. Now, let's talk about memory, that intricate tapestry of our experiences that shapes who we are. You might naturally assume that meticulously recording every brunch shot, every sunset, every concert, helps you remember life better. It feels intuitive, right? You're building a digital archive of your existence. But here's where the science delivers a counterintuitive punch. Harvard psychologists found the opposite. Their research indicates that the very act of documenting an experience, especially through a lens, significantly reduces your ability to recall that experience later, sometimes by as much as 40%. They've dubbed this phenomenon insta-amnesia, and it's a fascinating, if alarming, insight into our cognitive processes. It happens because your hippocampus, which you can think of as your brain's meticulous memory librarian, responsible for encoding new information into long-term memory, essentially offloads its storage duties to the camera. When you're busy framing the perfect shot, adjusting the filter, and thinking about the caption, your brain isn't fully engaging with the sensory richness of the moment itself. It's outsourcing the memory work. Later, when you scroll through your feed, you're not truly reminiscing in the rich, multisensory way you would with an organic memory. Instead, you're reconsuming a compressed, two-dimensional copy of the experience. It's a pale imitation, devoid of the smells, the ambient sounds, the subtle emotional nuances, and the tactile sensations that make genuine memories so vivid and enduring. You're looking at a photograph of a meal, not re-experiencing the taste and company. Repeat this cycle enough times, and your real, lived memories start to blur and fade like cheap photocopies that have been reproduced too many times. They lose their original vibrancy and detail, replaced by curated, often superficial digital representation. Even worse, the constant barrage of notifications and the urge to check them mid-conversation or mid-activity splinter your memory encoding process. When your brain is interrupted, it struggles to form a coherent, complete picture of what's happening. Instead, it stores fragmented bits and pieces, disjointed snippets rather than full, integrated scenes. The result? You walk into a room and completely forget why you entered. You can't recall the name of someone you just met 5 minutes ago. You struggle to piece together the details of a recent event that you know you experienced. Social media didn't invent brain fog. Humans have always had moments of forgetfulness. But it has certainly amplified it, turning what might have been an occasional misty patch into a Category 5 hurricane of cognitive haziness. This constant, low-level cognitive overload, coupled with the outsourcing of memory and the fragmentation of encoding, means our brains are less efficient at creating and retrieving the rich, detailed memories that truly define our lives. We're living more in the present moment of the screen and less in the present moment of our actual lives, with long-term consequences for our autobiographical memory and sense of self. Let's zoom in on dopamine, often called the molecule of more. It's not just about pleasure, it's about motivation, anticipation, and the drive to seek out rewards. And social media platforms are absolute masters at manipulating this fundamental neurochemical pathway. When someone likes your post, comments on your story, or shares your content, dopamine floods a specific region of your brain called the nucleus accumbens. This isn't some minor chemical ripple. It's a significant neurological event. In fact, this is the very same hotspot in your brain that gets activated by highly addictive substances like cocaine. That's how powerful and primal this reward mechanism is. But here's the insidious part. The platform doesn't deliver these likes and comments on a predictable schedule. Oh no, that would be too easy to resist. Instead, it sprinkles them randomly, intermittently. This is the psychological principle of variable ratio reinforcement, and it is hands down the most powerful conditioning schedule known to psychology. Think about it. If you knew exactly when you'd get a reward, you'd only engage at that specific time. But because the reward is unpredictable, you keep pulling the lever, keep refreshing the feed, keep checking your phone, just in case that next hit is waiting for you. Your brain, wired for seeking and anticipation, gets trapped in this compulsive loop, constantly scanning for the next potential reward. Over time, this relentless pursuit of dopamine has consequences. Brain scans of habitual users reveal something called blunted dopamine receptors. This means your brain's reward system becomes less sensitive. What once gave you a satisfying yay now barely registers. To feel that same level of pleasure or satisfaction, you need increasing amounts of stimulation, more likes, more comments, more extreme content, more novelty. This is the neurological basis for why you find yourself endlessly scrolling, chasing a feeling that becomes increasingly elusive. It's a hedonic treadmill, but for your brain. This reward loop is particularly problematic for teenagers and young adults. Their brains are still very much under construction, especially the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for impulse control, planning, and decision-making. Their reward circuitry, however, matures much earlier. This creates a critical imbalance. A highly sensitive reward system, eager for stimulation, but a still developing brake system that isn't yet equipped to regulate those urges. A concerning 2023 JAMA study highlighted this vulnerability, showing that adolescents who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media double their risk of developing addiction-like symptoms. Intense craving, withdrawal if they can't access it, and repeated relapse despite negative consequences. And let's be clear, adults aren't immune to this. We might be better at masking the itch, rationalizing our compulsive checking with phrases like, "I'm just staying informed," or "it's important for networking." But the underlying neurological mechanisms are the same. The AI algorithms that power these platforms are incredibly sophisticated, constantly learning your preferences, predicting what will keep you engaged, and serving up content designed to maximize your time on the app. They are exploiting your brain's natural reward pathways, creating a feedback loop that deepens dependency and makes it incredibly difficult to disengage. It's a meticulously crafted digital cage built around your most fundamental desires for connection and validation. Ever felt that visceral lurch in your stomach, that sudden drop when your follower count dips, or a post doesn't get the engagement you expected? That's not just a fleeting disappointment. That's your amygdala activating. The amygdala is your brain's ancient alarm bell, its threat detection system, and it's highly sensitive to social rejection or perceived social threats. In the online world, a lack of likes, a critical comment, or even just being ignored can trigger this primal alarm, sending signals of distress throughout your body. The problem is amplified by the nature of social media feeds. They are, by design, highlight reels. You're constantly exposed to a curated stream of other people's peak moments, promotions, engagement announcements, lavish vacations, perfectly sculpted beach abs, new houses, incredible achievements. What you don't see are the countless hours of hard work, the rejections, the financial struggles, the messy relationships, and the everyday breakdowns that happen behind the scenes. This constant upward social comparison trains your amygdala to interpret your own normal, messy, imperfect life as somehow deficient, as a threat to your social standing or self-worth. It's like being in a perpetual competition you never signed up for and constantly feeling like you're losing. The outcome of this relentless comparison and threat response is often chronic low-grade anxiety. It's that persistent hum of unease, that nagging feeling of not being enough, which becomes the perfect habitat for depressive symptoms to take root and flourish. Meanwhile, the very impulse control circuits in your prefrontal cortex, which are supposed to help you regulate these intense emotions, start to thin out from disuse and overload. This means that regulating that anxiety, calming that internal alarm, feels like trying to steer a car with no brakes. Your capacity for emotional self-regulation diminishes, making you more reactive and less resilient. One teenager, eloquently summarizing this phenomenon to researchers, put it starkly: "Offline feels gray. Online feels urgent." This emotional color shift is incredibly powerful. It literally rewires your brain's value systems, making external validation likes, shares, comments feel more vital, more urgent, more real than developing real-world skills, fostering deep relationships, or achieving personal milestones. Your brain learns that your worth is directly tied to your digital performance. Left unchecked, the brain starts to believe that external validation equals survival, that popularity online is a measure of your fundamental value as a human being. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Your worth is inherent, not algorithmic. But your brain, conditioned by these platforms, can easily forget that crucial truth. This constant seeking of external validation creates a fragile sense of self, perpetually dependent on the unpredictable whims of an algorithm and the fleeting attention of others. It's an exhausting and ultimately unfulfilling cycle. All right, enough with the problem, right? Ready for some potent solutions? Because the good news is, your brain is incredibly adaptable, and with intentional effort, you can absolutely begin to reclaim your focus, your memory, and your emotional equilibrium. Here's your toolkit for a deep focus fix. First up, let's reclaim your attention with a simple yet powerful technique: the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, without fail, stand up for 20 seconds and look 20 feet away. Seriously, just pick a spot across the room or out a window and stare at it. This isn't just an old wives' tale. It actually works on multiple levels. It gives your ocular muscles a much-needed break from the intense, close-up focus demanded by screens, preventing eye strain. More importantly, it acts as a micro-reset for your cognitive focus. It interrupts the cycle of continuous, shallow attention, allowing your brain a momentary pause to recenter before diving back into your task. It's like hitting a tiny refresh button for your brain and your eyes. Try setting a timer for it. You'll be surprised how much more sustained focus you can achieve. Second, let's protect your most precious cognitive resource: your morning brain power. Schedule strict no-phone zones around your two most productive morning hours. For many, this means the first hour or two after waking. Research from the University of Nottingham has shown that pre-lunch prefrontal cortex activity peaks at an astonishing 90% above evening levels. Your brain is at its sharpest, most capable, and most creative during these early hours. Why would you squander that prime cognitive real estate by immediately diving into the reactive, distracting world of social media? Protect it fiercely. Use that time for deep work, creative thinking, planning, or simply quiet reflection. Don't let the urgent demands of the digital world hijack your most productive hours before they even begin.